Let me be completely honest with you, because this is where most people get trapped for life without even realizing it. They are told that 7% or 8% returns are great. They are told that if they just put their money into an index fund, stay calm, and wait 30 or 40 years, everything will magically work out. That advice sounds comforting, but comfort is not what builds wealth. Comfort is what keeps you average. My name is Kevin O'Leary, and for more than 3 decades, I have built companies, sold companies, invested in companies, and watched people either transform their lives or stay stuck in the same financial place for years. The difference was never intelligence. It was never luck. It was always behavior. The people who became wealthy learned to think differently about money, risk, and discipline. Capital is not entertainment. Capital is not something you casually throw around because a headline excited you or a friend tipped you off to the next big thing. Capital is a tool. It is a weapon. And if you learn how to use it correctly, it can completely rewrite your future. The biggest lie in finance is that you should be satisfied with average results. Average results create average lives. Average lives create stress, anxiety, and regret. I refuse to live that way, and if you are watching this, I know you do not want to live that way either. You want control. You want options. You want freedom. And that only comes when your money works harder than you do. 30% returns are not a fantasy. They are not reckless. They are not reserved for billionaires. They are the result of structure, discipline, and intelligent risk. But you will never reach them by playing the same game as everyone else. The public stock market alone will not get you there. It is one tool, not the entire toolbox. I built my wealth by stacking 3 engines together and forcing them to work in harmony. The first engine is private equity. This is where the fastest wealth is created. When you invest in a great business before the world notices, you are buying growth at a discount. But I never invest in miracles. I invest in mathematics. I look for a management team that has already won before. I look for a product that solves a real problem. I look for strong margins, predictable cash flow, and a clear path to profitability. If the numbers do not make sense, I walk away. I would rather miss a great deal than lose money in a bad one, because protecting capital is more important than chasing excitement. I have invested in hundreds of private companies. Most fail. That is reality. The skill is not avoiding failure. The skill is making sure the winners are so powerful that they more than pay for the losers. That is how you achieve 30% returns. You do not need every deal to work. You need a few extraordinary ones, and you need discipline to survive long enough to find them. The second engine is real estate. Real estate is not about flipping houses or hoping prices go up. Real estate is about buying income. I buy properties that pay me every single month. Office buildings, warehouses, apartment buildings, retail centers. When a property produces 10 to 15% cash-on-cash returns and appreciation adds another 10 to 15%, I am suddenly in the 30% zone. I use leverage intelligently. I put 20% down. The bank puts 80% down. I control 100% of the asset. That is not gambling. That is structure. But leverage only works if you respect it. I stress test every deal. What happens if occupancy drops? What happens if interest rates rise? What happens if the economy slows? If the numbers still work, I proceed. If they do not, I walk away. Ego never writes checks. Discipline does. The third engine is owning businesses. Nothing creates wealth faster than controlling your own business. When you own the business, you control the revenue, the costs, the strategy, and the exit. But this is not for the lazy. You must know your numbers every single day. Margins, cash flow, customer acquisition cost, lifetime value. If you do not know these numbers, you are not an entrepreneur. You are a gambler. I do not fall in love with ideas. I fall in love with profits. Passion does not pay the bills. Cash flow pays the bills. I have seen brilliant people destroy themselves because they ignored the numbers and chased their dreams blindly. Dreams without discipline become nightmares. Here is where most people fail. They have the strategy, but they do not have the discipline. They panic when markets fall. They chase hype when markets rise. They hold losers because they hope. They sell winners because they are afraid. That behavior guarantees failure. I follow rules. I buy when others are afraid. I sell when others are greedy. I cut losses quickly. I protect my capital first. Hope is not a strategy. Discipline is the strategy. Taxes are the silent killer of wealth. If you earn 30% but give half of it away, you did not earn 30%. You worked for the government. I structure everything legally and intelligently so more of my money stays working for me. Corporate entities, real estate depreciation, long-term capital gains, and strategic reinvestment. Every dollar I save in taxes becomes a soldier that goes back into battle for me. That is how compounding becomes explosive. Most people think avoiding risk makes them safe. That is backwards. Working one job is risky. Having one income stream is risky. Relying on one employer is risky. Real safety comes from multiple engines producing income at the same time. That requires taking calculated risks, not reckless ones. Calculated risk means you understand the downside, you structure protection, and you only invest what you can afford to lose. When the upside is 10 times larger than the downside, you take the shot. That is asymmetric opportunity. That is how fortunes are built. I did not start rich. I started with debt. What I had was obsession. I learned every day. I saved aggressively. I invested carefully. I reinvested relentlessly. Your first $10,000 changes how you think. Your first $100,000 changes how you live. Your first $1 million changes who you are. And it all starts with one disciplined decision. This is not about getting rich quickly. This is about building real wealth deliberately. Private equity for explosive growth. Real estate for cash flow and leverage. Businesses for control and scale. Discipline to protect capital. Tax efficiency to keep profits. A professional team to avoid expensive mistakes. This is the blueprint I use. This is how I target 30% returns year after year. Not with luck, not with hype. With structure, rules, and discipline. You can keep playing the safe game and stay average, or you can step into the arena and build real wealth. The blueprint is in front of you. The only question is this: will you act or will you watch? Because wealth does not reward spectators. Wealth rewards builders.